Hi everyone. Okay, just 1 second. I think I need to share the link. Give me 30 seconds, I'll go get some water and come back soon. Okay, I'm back. So let's start. Okay, I probably will start with, I want to check first how many submissions, project submissions we have. So, I think it was around 60 something. Yeah, it's actually 70, so people keep submitting. So already 70 submissions are there, so please keep them coming. And yeah, 70 is not a big number, so I was expecting to have slightly higher number of projects. So those who didn't submit, I'm really curious to get some of your feedback. So if you're watching this but you didn't have a chance to work on the project for various reasons, maybe you can share this in private or write an email or share this in public channel. That's also fine. The reason why you couldn't submit. So I'm really curious about that. So maybe is it because the instructions weren't clear? It wasn't clear what how to approach the project. It wasn't clear how to select a data set or things like this. So this will be very valuable to improve the course, future iterations of the course, maybe to also help people who couldn't get started to actually get started and implement, apply everything we learned in the course on the project. So also what we did is, let me actually make sure I have a live chat open, not to miss any of your messages. The course. Okay, I am shaking because this is my screen is not yeah, if I'm not touching my laptop, I shouldn't shake. I shouldn't be shaking, so hopefully this will be fine. Anyways, so I want to start with sharing this project. In project, here I added another form, so the form for submitting. And in this form, if I open it, so this is the form you will need to use for submitting your peer evaluation, for evaluating your peers, for submitting the results. And one important thing is, just in case I want to repeat it one more time, if you do not do peer evaluation, you will not pass your project. So this is a very important step. If you don't do this, you will not get a certificate. So just finishing the project is not enough. You also need to do peer reviewing. And only after that, the project is considered complete. So don't forget to do peer reviewing. This is very important. And this is a great opportunity to learn from your peers. I'm pretty sure if you do this, if you do peer reviewing, you will learn a lot. And speaking of that form, so this is the form you will need to use for evaluating your peers. And I hope this is more or less self-explanatory. So you put your email here, hash for the project. So there will be a hash for your peer, which you will need to use. You will see this assignment table soon. And then for each of the criteria, for each of the dimension, you will just need to assess to give the number of points. So you do that, and then there are two things. Oops, I don't know what happened. There are two things. So note to your peer, a note to your peer. This is something that will be shared with your peer. And if you have any feedbacks to us personally, privately, if you want to share something privately with us, this is the field you use. So this will be the form you'll use for submitting the results. And now let me go to the Slido. So the first question is, I will not be able to submit my project today. Will it be fine to organize myself with other participants for the peer review? No, but we will have second cohort of projects. So right now we finish this. So this one will finish at 11th of April. And then immediately after that, we'll start another cohort of projects. So if you didn't have a chance to finish your project now, you will be able to do it one more time. So if you couldn't work on something, you needed to catch up on something, so you will be able to come to finish the project in so let's say starting from 11th, there will be another chance to work on a project. And then after that, it will be over. So after that, you can only take project in self-paced mode. You can still do project, you can still ask for feedback, but it will not be considered for a certificate. After all the review cohorts, can you demonstrate and review a few of the best projects? I would like to see best practices. Yes, definitely. This is definitely in our plan. So we do want to select a few projects and ask the authors, the students, to share these projects with us, and then we will publish everything on in the course channel, share it in Slack, of course, so you will be able to learn from this. I am jealous I wasn't able to join you last Thursday in Berlin. Can you mail me some Georgian food? I do not think Post will be happy about this, but maybe just come to Berlin and let's have another lunch. Or you can use any food delivery services to get some Georgian food. But that was delicious. Sorry to hear that you couldn't make it. A question for Alexei. Do you apparently work standing up, tired? How often do you practice, and is there any benefit? Yes, I do spend most of my day standing up. I'm not tired. Just I like standing. And, it's more effective than finding a chair to sit and then not finding, but you need to move the chair, you need to sit, it's too much movement. And with standing, I just come to my desk and can start working already. And this is a silly reason, I don't know why I do this, but I just like doing this. So for not being tired, I have a special mat for feet. So I stand on this mat, and it helps with not being tired. But I'm also used to this. I've been doing this for a couple of years. So yeah, I'm not tired. And I don't know if there is any benefit. Maybe there is no benefit, maybe there is a benefit, but I like when I can decide if I want to work standing up or sitting. So, yeah. How long will it take for a junior and senior data engineer to create a pipeline from new white taxi dataset with the same requirements as with the week 7 project? I don't know. So I think it's very difficult to answer, to give an answer to this question. So I think for a senior data engineer, it will not take a lot of time because they already know the tools. They already have these tools set up. They can just start using them, and then they already have some code that they have from previous projects that they can just reuse, copy and paste things, and then change there. So I assume the whole pipeline could take, I don't know, 3-4 hours maybe, like end to end, maybe less. So I think, yeah, if all the tools are familiar, if you already know how to use them, if you're proficient, then this should be pretty fast. So probably the first hour you will spend looking at the data and deciding what to do with this, and then the rest of the time you would spend on putting data to data warehouse and then running all these queries. But this is just this number is not backed up by anything rather than gut feeling. So, and as for the junior, again, it depends if you know the technologies or not. If this is the first time you use, then of course it will take a lot more time. And I think even for experienced data engineers, it depends on how well you want to, like how polished the project should be. So I would not be surprised if somebody comes to me and says, I spent 100 hours working on this project and this person is a senior data engineer. So I think this is also possible. So, but what I'm definitely interested in is then checking the, so in this form, not for this one, but for the project, I ask you to put the number of hours. We ask you to put the number of hours you spent on working on the project, and then actually learning from this data and seeing how much time you put in the project. So I'm really curious about that. What about the second cohort of projects? Is there any official start, or we can simply go on a start? You can simply go on a start and start. The official date will be, I think, yeah, as I said. So now we start peer reviewing, and then we will have 1 week, like 1 week for peer reviewing, and then after that there will be another start. Another project. So I probably should put this here. Yeah, but you can, like, let's say if you didn't finish the project now in time and you want to keep working, you can just keep working. That's probably not completely, how to say, honest or I'm looking for a word, but some people put a lot of time and finish the project in 3 weeks, but I think it's fine if you just keep on working. Oh, go away. Would appreciate if you can make some additional instructional videos on PySpark transformation exercises from extracting data from data lake. What do you mean? Maybe if you can give me like a more concrete example of what you want me to do, then maybe I can do this. That's probably like when the data is already in the data lake and you want to get some data out of the data lake, transform it and put it back to the data lake, right? Yeah, so there is one video in the pipeline that I haven't uploaded yet, which is about writing to a data lake. And then reading from the data lake, I think if we just go to Google and BigQuery Spark connector, yeah, if we just Google that. So this example, yeah, I already uploaded a video about Dataproc, I don't know how to pronounce it. So the video is there. So if you use a Dataproc cluster, then what you can do is you need to set this thing. This is important to set temporary bucket, and then you just load data from BigQuery. I don't think you need anything else for that. So in the video that I haven't uploaded yet, I cover this part. I think it's a more common. It's more common that you process some data from a data lake from object storage, and then upload this processed data to BigQuery. So I covered that part, but based on that part, I think it shouldn't be too difficult to also make this part work. So it will probably require no extra changes. You can just take the code, and by the way, the code is already here. So this one, code, and we have this. No, this is not the right one. Yeah, I think. Yeah, there is not so much code. I think it's more about like how exactly you do all these things. So first you need to create this Dataproc cluster, which there is a video already about, and then yeah, you just need to do this thing. So there will be a video about that, don't worry. I think it will be helpful. And if you have more concrete examples of what you want me to do, yeah, just write in Slack, and yeah, I can see if this is something I can do, or at least I can point you where you can learn this thing. Creating an instance in Terraform. Is there a way the startup script is run by a user different to root user? I don't want to pull repo and run Docker with root. Yeah, I don't know. So I don't usually create instances, virtual machines with Terraform, and this is done. So usually, let's say I use things like Kubernetes. And so I create a Kubernetes cluster with Terraform, or usually it's not me, actually somebody from our team does that. And then we have a Kubernetes cluster, and then Kubernetes you use Docker. And in Docker you already have everything you need, right? So you don't need to do any extra preparation there. So I have never needed to do anything like that. Yeah, but I'm wondering what is the reason you do not want to do it different to root because of security reasons. Yeah, I don't know. Probably if you can root it, if you can run it as a root, if you have a chance to run a script as a root, I think as a root you can imposter any user. So you can create a user and you can log in to this user and execute something. Probably this should be possible. So maybe I try doing this. As a senior data engineer, can you employ anyone who participated and completed project in this bootcamp program? I am not sure what this question means. Do you mean if I can hire anyone from this course? No, I cannot. But what I can say is, if you go to our website, the company where I work at, it's called OLX. So it's careers.olxgroup.com, and then you see open roles. And if you type trainees here. So then we have a bunch of open positions for trainees. And you see that there is also data engineer trainee, data science trainee, data engineer trainee. So we have a bunch of open positions for trainees, and one of them is data engineer. So you can also check it out. So let's say if you're in Germany, then you can apply. I don't know if we have data engineers in other hubs. Yeah, I think we only have them in Germany. So if you're in Germany, you can apply to this position. Now you have to be in Germany already. Good day. How do we handle change data capture in the data engineering? Unfortunately, I must admit I am not the best person to ask that, since I am not a proper data engineer. So I need to work with, actually this is a related question, I need to build data pipelines in my day-to-day job, but I am not, let's say, a proper data engineer, so I don't know how to do this. Maybe you can ask in Slack, and then like for example Ankush, who is a data engineer, can answer that. He's not here today, but yeah, just ask in Slack. And then how much of data engineering do you do in your day-to-day data scientist job? Quite a lot. So I don't know how much you know about data science, but in data science, so let's say you want to build a model. But in order to build a model, you need to prepare your data. And the data is sitting somewhere in raw form, usually in a data lake. So you need to get this data. Well, hopefully it's there. If it's not, you need to talk to people to start putting the data there. So once the data is there, you need to get the data from there and do a lot of processing, cleaning this data and so on. So you need to transform this data in a form that is useful for a machine learning algorithm, something you can put in the model. And usually data scientists spend, like, I don't know, at least 50% on doing this kind of stuff. So quite a lot of work on doing data preparation. So most of the time I need to spend on preparing data. I use tools like SQL. So I use Athena, for example, quite often. Athena is somewhat similar to BigQuery. So the data is in S3, and then I run some SQL on top of that. Sometimes use Spark, but not very often these days. And then another tool that I use quite often is, not tool, but service from AWS, is AWS Batch. They're also quite useful. So yeah, we need to build data pipelines. Also, sometimes we as data scientists need to work when the use case requires fast response. We need to work on streaming data. So there is an event and we need to react on this event and do some prediction on this event. So then there we also build pipelines based on, let's say, Kinesis, Kafka, SQS. This is a service from AWS and things like this. So we also need to build a lot of data pipelines there. So quite some data engineering. I wouldn't call myself a proper data engineer by no means, but I do get some exposure to data engineering things. So yeah, maybe short answer is 40-50% data engineering, but this kind of data engineering is probably different from what a normal data engineer would do. So the usual data engineers would do a lot more on top of what I do. Before I use Airflow on Docker and Google Dataproc, I still struggle Airflow and Spark on Docker, but from Airflow still. Sorry, I don't think I understand the question. Maybe you can put something more concrete here, or maybe like if it requires a long, like maybe if there is a specific error you struggle with, better use Slack. So ask this in Slack, and we will hopefully be able to help you. What's your vision on the future of data professions, where it is heading at the moment, cloud premise, coding, low code, AutoML, and other automations? Yeah, it's very hard to give any predictions because it might change. Yeah, but yeah, I think everything is moving to the cloud. I don't see, at least in Berlin, in Germany, I don't see a lot of companies working on premise. Maybe because I work at an internet company, and many other internet companies, they're also on the cloud, but there are more, let's say, traditional companies that, yeah, maybe they still have on-prem stuff. But yeah, I think the tendency to move to the cloud is quite, yeah, it's everywhere. Then coding, low code, I see that there is a lot of, the trend is towards low code. So for example, tools like Airbyte. Yeah, so this is, it's getting quite popular, and there you, like out of the box, if there are existing transformers, you might end up writing no code at all. You just connect different things there and it starts working. So I think the tendency, yeah, is moving towards more low code than a lot of code. But again, I think even there, with tools like Airbyte, you still cannot get away now without writing code. So AutoML, yeah, I think this is definitely a trend. So when it comes to data science, instead of spending a lot of time trying to find the best model, because we have computing resources in the cloud, and the time of a data scientist is more expensive than computing time, so you can just throw your data set to an AutoML algorithm and then it will figure out the best possible model. But in order to throw something at the AutoML tool, you need to prepare data. And again, this is what data scientists spend most of the time on, is data preparation. So this part is very difficult to automate. Yes, like as I said, these low-code tools like Airbyte, they help to get some data from one source to another source, but still, you will need to write the SQL query for doing, I don't know, data cleaning, grouping, and things like this. But definitely yes. So I think it becomes more and more accessible, let's say. No, yeah. Hi, Luis. I hope Alexei can upload the video about Airflow and Spark on Docker, because I need some suggestions why Airflow can run Spark submit. Yeah, I don't think I'll be able to do this soon, but what I show in the videos, I think this is, I don't think I put it here. So one of the videos that I uploaded recently, let me find it. Oops. So this one, setting up a Dataproc cluster. At some point I show how to use, yeah, this one. I show how to use this Google Cloud SDK for submitting to Dataproc. So potentially this is what you could use in your Airflow for doing Spark Submit. So this is equivalent to Spark Submit, but you do not need to install Spark on your Airflow. All you need to have on your Airflow is Google Cloud SDK. And in the images we have for the course, you already have it. So you need to do something like bash operator there and do that. I think I saw in the comments in Slack there was a message that somebody had problems with using bash operator, and they ended up using a special operator, Dataproc something. You can check it out in Slack. Because I think the problem there, somebody said that something with authentication, I don't remember. But yeah, there is a special operator. Maybe we can just quickly Google it. Dataproc operator Airflow. Yeah, maybe this one. So you can, yeah, apparently this is a part of the standard Airflow package. So you can use that, I guess, and then you do not need, so you just use this operator. So it's not create data prods data cluster. This is not interesting. Yeah, this submit a job to the cluster. So this thing. So try using that. I think it should work. So I probably don't need to create a video on that. So if it doesn't work, then come to us, to Slack, and yeah, we will try to help. Now, I think Ankush is joining. Hey, Ankush.
Hello, sorry for joining late. I just finished one of the meetings and I realized we have this one.
Yeah, there was a question that I couldn't answer, and this question was about CDC. Is it? Do you remember what CDC stands for?
Change data capture.
Change data capture, yeah, probably. And since I can't call myself a proper data engineer because I don't know what it is, so let me try to actually find this question.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how do we handle change data capture in data engineering? So maybe this is something you can answer.
How do we handle change data capture in data engineering? What do you mean by handle? Like,
how do you do this? Yes.
okay, so if you think about how do you do this,
so what is that? Maybe.
Yeah, so okay, so let's just start with what is change data capture. So generally what happens is we do have databases, right? And sometimes let's assume a use case where there is a monolith which is writing to this database, and this monolith is untouchable because let's assume it's written in PHP and nobody wants to touch it. But you still want events. You still want to have events coming out of this PHP code base, which is next to impossible to do. So what you really want to do is basically that you kind of capture the data from the database, and then you can take some actions on it. Those actions can be that you push the data to Kafka. Those actions can be that you take that event and try to figure out what you really want to do at that moment and take some action, maybe start a Spark job or something like that. So if we talk in terms of from this particular picture is basically taking data from a database and then pushing it to Kafka, then what happens is that it becomes an event streaming. So let's assume your database was about users adding data to cart. And then as soon as a user adds the data to cart, you can now, because the data is written to the database, with CDC, you can basically release an event to Kafka, which then can later be used for capturing these kind of details, like there was something added to the cart and take some action based upon that. So that's where CDC really shines. Is it only used for like monolithical applications in which you cannot touch the code? No, not really. Sometimes you really want to also have CDC on external databases which you do not have any control over, or like you are not writing to it, maybe some external team or an external company is writing to them. So I do see CDC as a very great tool. And I will always suggest people to definitely use it if they want event, but they cannot really get event out of the box. They might want to have a workaround, and I think this is a very, very, very good solution for that. How does CDC actually works is basically using the transaction logs. So there is a transaction log in every database, and what it does is basically it captures the transaction log, and then reading from the transaction logs, it just keeps pushing data to Kafka or whatever you have set up. So with respect to Kafka, there is Debezium, which actually does CDC from basically act as a connector from any database to Kafka. Exactly. So this kind of log comes up, and it kind of it knows that it
all
has
the operations, right?
All the operations.
And like inserts, deletes, all that, right?
Exactly. So then it can take actions based upon that. So let's assume if there is an insert, then it's easy. It's like, what was the previous stage? The previous stage was null. And what's the new state? The new state is the row. And then you can act in the same way for a delete. So the other way around. And maybe for an append, you can say, okay, this was the previous state, and then the new state is whatever you have appended or whatever you have changed in a particular column. So that's basically, from my understanding, CDC. But obviously, CDC is not only limited to Kafka or for events. It can also be used for different purposes, like moving data from one database to another database, right? It's like read replicas and all. So they can also use internal CDCs to kind of replicate data across them.
So every time, so let's say, let me try to, so I'm a user here. So this is me, and I insert something to MySQL, right? So through an application, right? So I insert something, and then what happens, this database keeps a log, right, with all these actions that I inserted, or I updated the record, or I deleted the record. What else is there? I think insert, delete, update, right? So these are, yeah, and every time this happens, there is a log record coming to, I don't know, these connectors, right? And then, so these connectors send this event to Kafka stream or whatever stream, whatever system we use. And then, like the clients, they just read, consumers just read from this stream and do whatever they need with this data. So this way we kind of, the event is here, the user inserted something to database, and then it's this way we can actually build a streaming architecture around this.
Exactly. So streaming architecture on top of a database, basically.
Okay, now I need to understand how do I remove this thing.
While you do that, I will be back with some support for my desk here. Give me a minute.
Okay. So I think we answered that, right? So let me go here. Yeah, I think there is also, yeah, Marcos, was it Marcos? Yeah, Marcos said that he already added these data proc operators in the frequently asked questions document. So you can check it there if you have problems with this part. And then Spark on Docker, this is still for me work in progress. I eventually will finish these videos. I cannot give you any estimate on that. So if you want to submit your project last minute, like the deadline is still, you have a couple of hours, and you're waiting for me to release these videos to finish your projects, do not, because I will not publish anything in this last few hours. So don't count on me for that. I want to do this this month, so probably this next week. I already started preparing materials for that, so I hope to finish it one day or another. But yeah, don't count on me finishing it any. So I don't want to commit to any time frame on that. Okay. Is there any data science Zoomcamp organized in the future? If by data science you mean, or depends what you mean by data science, we have actually about machine learning. So if I go here, this one, so we have a course about machine learning. It's more, I would say it's more machine learning engineering course than data science. Well, it depends on what you mean by data science again. But in this course, we cover basics of modeling, like regression, classification, like evaluation, and then we also talk about deploying models and things like this. So, like, even if you are not interested in deploying, but I think you should be, you should still watch this. But if you're not interested, you at the very least you can cover these few first modules, and then this one. Decision trees, yeah, that should give you quite good foundation, let's say. But even if you don't want to work as a machine learning engineer, you just want to work as a data scientist, I think this is very important to also learn about deployment.
So
yeah.
A follow-up.
Yes, sorry.
I wanted to ask a follow-up question to you, Alexei. Would there be an ML Ops course?
Sorry?
Would there be an ML Ops course?
Yeah, so there will be. I'm already, I started talking to the instructors. We're already planning recording. I also want to work a bit on the process on how we actually do this thing, so it's a bit less chaotic than this one. But yeah, it's work in progress. So we actually originally wanted to start in March, then we wanted to start in April, but I think May would be more reasonable estimate. But yeah, we already started working on this. You are talking about CDC. Can this be used as some sort of version control but for database? I saw some tools about this, but doesn't seem to be very mature. What do you think?
You can use it, but I would not say it's the purpose of that.
And what would be, do you know any tools for version control for databases?
Not really.
Not really. I think there is, trying to remember, we had somebody on Data Talks Club like last year, I don't remember the name, so it was long ago. So there was a company they have an open source project. It's very similar to DVC. So DVC is one way of adding version to your data. I'm trying to find, yeah, probably this one. So it's similar to DVC. Oh, this data version explained. So let me. So they have a SlakeFS, something like that. Yeah, I think it's SlakeFS. Probably there is a link. Yeah, it's SlakeFS. So maybe this is something that could be interesting for you. So it's a Git-like version control for data lakes. I think Delta Lake from Databricks can also do something like this, right? Some sort of versioning.
But that's on top of a lake, no, a data lake, not on top of SQL
database, right?
Database.
Yeah, and this one is also on top of database, not on top of database, right? So this is on top of data lake.
Yeah, it says LakeFS, so I assume.
Yeah, all right. So it doesn't say DBFS, right?
Exactly. Yeah, it also says data lake. Okay, first line.
Yeah, it does. But yeah, so with these things, so with the CDC, now when you explained what it is, I realized that we actually have something like this. So all the transactions from our MySQL go to a data lake. We call it LiveSync. So, and with that, it's actually possible to recover the state at any particular timestamp. So you can just do a filter. So you filter all the timestamps after, like you just throw it away, and for each record you kind of keep the last one, and this way you kind of recover what was the state of the database at that point, right? But I don't know how easy it is to take this and put back to the database.
Yeah,
so it's like one-way street.
If you really want to do that, also it's not as straightforward, right? You might have to go back and forth and figure out what your partitions are, what kind of duplications are you, or what kind of versionings are you looking for actually based on keys. So it's not as simple as, let's say, Iceberg, for example. That's a different, like, it is made for versioning. Like one of the features is definitely versioning. So,
but there are databases that are append-only databases, right? I think CouchDB is one of them. I don't know if like a usual transaction. Yeah, I think even MySQL, there are engines that work like that. That instead of updating the record, you create a new one and then put some sort of tombstone instead of the old one, right? Cassandra does that, right? So then with that, can you have some data versioning there? Or it's these tombstones, it's not very easy to go around them.
But then there is a compaction also, right? Which happens to save space. So then it's lost anyways.
Okay.
Yeah.
think like from theoretical point of view, this designing data intensive applications, it goes into a lot of details, like how these things work, right?
Yeah, I think there would be at least some chapter on that for sure. At least theoretical.
Are there any textbooks or YouTube playlists that directly help with the content of this course that you would recommend? I don't know any textbook or books.
There would be multiple books then, because this course ranges over different subjects. So if you really want to go specific on a particular area, then maybe you can buy that particular book. But as far as I know, I don't know any book which covers all that area or all the topics we are talking about.
Yeah, and YouTube playlists also. I think, like let's say if you want to learn more about Airflow, you just go to Google and then you find a lot of materials about Airflow. And yeah, so this is how I learn. So I just Google things and find, usually I just go with articles and GitHub projects. So I don't usually watch videos that often. But sometimes, yeah, it's also convenient just to sometimes videos are very helpful. So I also do that sometimes.
Yeah. Some interesting blog post articles you have? What you know about?
Yeah, it's again like whatever I find on Google for that particular topic.
Yeah, it's topic based, right?
Yeah, it's topic based. Yeah, usually, like I don't know, on Medium there are articles. I cannot give a good example of. Yeah, it's all over the place. So topic based.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think there is one thing that I wanted to. Yeah, so there is this link. I don't know how to pronounce this, and they have a reading list. Is it courses or resources? This data engineering reading list. So here in this clean.com/reading list, you can find a lot of nice articles, books, and resources. Probably this could be helpful for you. Yeah, but that's also quite a lot of material. So if you try to cover all that, I don't know, that will take a lot of time. So I think the next one that we will have will be the last one, the next office hours.
Yeah. When are we gonna release the results and all?
Results, so yeah, next week I guess.
Okay.
We also wanted to do a Zoom party, which I shouldn't forget about this. So instead of this stream to YouTube, we wanted to do a Zoom call with everyone to invite, so have like bi-directional communication. So maybe this is something we can do next week.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah. Okay, I guess that's all for today. I don't see any more questions. I want to thank everyone for your hard work on the project. Thanks a lot for putting all this effort there. I took a look at some of the projects. They are amazing, so great work. And yeah, it's almost, we're almost there. So 1 week and the first cohort will be over. So great job.
I really love the number of things coming in. I check every day, and then there are like 50 people finishing codes. It's pretty nice to see that.
Well, while we were almost wrapping up, so a few more questions appeared. So after this Zoomcamp, we still ask questions or discussion. Yeah, you can still ask questions in Slack. So the Slack will stay there. The channel will not be closed. Many of you, I know some of you, there was a post on Reddit recently. One of the students shared his work there, and it got quite a lot of attention on Reddit. So I saw that there were a couple of, I don't know, like 50 maybe new registrations there. So some of you maybe are now watching this, you just found this course. So you can take this course at a self-paced mode. And if you have any questions, first check our frequently asked questions. Probably the answer will be there. And if you cannot find the answer there, of course, ask on Slack and we will be happy to help. Can you give a brief overview on how the review grading process for the projects will go? So you get a project, then so there will be, well, you'll get 3 projects assigned to you. So you take the first project and then you go through this, like problem description, cloud, and so on. And then you basically, you see at the problem description and you check if problem is described, but shortly, you give 1 point. If problem is well described, you give 2 points. And then you do something like this for every dimension here. So if cloud is not used, you give 0 points, and you do this for every dimension. This is how you do this, and then you can also share new things that you learned from this project. So for example, you can say, oh, there is this new tool that I learned from this project, and then you can also post about that. And something also, maybe if you want to share something with your peer, somebody like about the project, maybe like some areas for improvement or something that wasn't clear, or you just want to say, thank you, great project, I learned a lot from you. You can put it here in the note, and this note will be shared with the peer. Apart from that, yeah, if it's not clear, let us know. But this is, you just get the project and then you use this form for evaluating, and then you do it 3 times. And then, yeah, you need to evaluate 3 projects. And then if you feel like evaluating more, you can still do this. You will not get extra point for that. But yeah, you're free to do this. You're free to evaluate more projects if you want. Google Data Studio S3 queries will be charged, aren't they? I am worried to share the link to my dashboard since my dataset is quite big. Ankush, do you know anything about that?
I think if you are still in the free tier, maybe it's fine. If you still have money left there, so don't worry about that. Maybe you can. Yeah, I don't want to downscale the data size because then the whole project is changed. But think about that. If that's the case, then try that. If not, then maybe just sharing screenshots might be enough from that perspective. But yeah, try the free credits first.
I also saw people recording small videos about that, so you can also do that. So for example, if you already have Zoom, then recording your screen is super easy. You just have a call with yourself and record this. Then other tool that I love is Loom. So you can check this out. You can record up to 5 minutes for free with Loom. And I think there are, like for example, on Ubuntu, there is built-in screen recorder. Maybe on Mac, there is also something like that. So yeah, you can get creative if you want. So, but even a screenshot would do, I think. Yeah, I guess that would be it. So maybe let's give it, I don't know, 20 seconds or how much there is a delay between the lag between us and YouTube. And while we do this, the weather is terrible in Berlin today. Like, I don't know what's going on. Like, it was so good, and now it's again gray and... Hey, you're on mute.
And it's gonna stay like that for the next week.
Yeah. Well, hopefully not next year.
Yeah, I hope so. But it's just gotta keep raining. It's like it doesn't even stop.
Yeah. Coming from India and seeing this must be depressing.
It's super depressing. Actually, when I came back from India, the weather was nice. I really enjoyed myself. So you have to also imagine clean air versus shitty weather. I would always go for the clean air.
Is it that bad in India?
Oh yeah, it's like smoking 5 cigarettes, and there are special times like November, December, January. I'm from Delhi, if anybody is from India. So in that time, it's like smoking 12 cigarettes, 10 cigarettes each day.
Wow.
It's equivalent to smoking 12 cigarettes.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Going out for a run is actually bad for your health.
Yeah, sorry to hear that.
Yeah. I hope
now
this
you
improves with
can,
electric cars.
but in Berlin you can run, but it's in
You will
this
die of the
weather.
cold.
So no running for Berliners.
No
Yeah, I
ways.
guess we don't have any questions, any more questions for today. So
Yeah.
let me stop sharing my screen. So again, thanks everyone for your hard work. Thanks for watching us today, for asking questions. And yeah, we're almost done. So one more week. And then for others who will work on another cohort, you still have a lot of work. Yeah, so have fun.